People love to say that music is a universal language, that you can take a melody from one side of the globe and drop it effortlessly into the culture of another. But try standing on the boundary line between the Western classical or jazz traditions and the ancient sounds of East Asia, specifically China and Japan. For a composer, crossing this particular cultural bridge is one of the most rigorous creative challenges in the entire art form. Simply replacing a violin with a bamboo flute doesn't bridge the gap. Integration fails because these two worlds are governed by conflicting laws of acoustic physics. For centuries, the Western classical tradition has relied on a foundational acoustic law called equal temperament. This diagram illustrates equal temperament. It takes a single acoustic octave, rigidly dividing it into 12 mathematically equal semitones. It's a clever compromise, allowing a piano to play in any key, but the strict trade-off locks every pitch into an immutable frequency. Western instruments are engineered specifically to act as machines that enforce this standardized, pure stability. Traditional music from China and Japan operates far outside these rigid mathematical boxes, relying heavily on pentatonic or five-note scales. Here, structure lies in pitch flexibility. A note is rarely just struck and held. The musician physically bends, pulls, and ornaments the sound. This physical bending generates microtones, subtle, highly specific pitches that fall into the empty space between a piano's standardized keys. Breath-driven traditional instruments depend entirely on accessing these exact microtonal spaces. Furthermore, these traditions celebrate organic noise. The breathiness of a flute or the physical scrape of a string are vital expressive elements, contrasting the Western ideal of pristine, pure tone production. Instead of mathematically perfect pitch, this acoustic system prioritizes organic, textural expression. This brings us to the intense technical friction of cross-cultural composition. If you take an Eastern melody and standardize it to fit a Western orchestra, the music often sounds hollow. The microtonal inflections that gave the melody its texture vanish on standardized instruments. The inverse is equally jarring. Forcing flexible traditional instruments to play over strict Western chords makes their natural tuning systems sound severely out of place. Achieving authentic integration requires a deep technical reverence for the silences and structural rules inherent to both acoustic heritages. The late Ryuichi Sakamoto mastered this navigation. Trained in classical composition and electronic music, Sakamoto voiced traditional pentatonic scales over rich, impressionistic Western chords, creating a modern sonic landscape without erasing the Japanese spatial awareness. Decades earlier, the composer Toru Takemitsu took a radically different approach, collision rather than compromise. In works like November Steps, Takemitsu placed highly textural traditional instruments alongside a full Western symphony, letting their contrasting acoustic worlds push against one another. Others have solved this through human technique rather than written composition, with cellist Yo-Yo Ma serving as a prime example. He and other classical string players learned to physically bend strings and slide between pitches, mimicking the specific vocal qualities of traditional instruments, like the Chinese erhu. These musicians succeeded because they treated these tuning systems as distinct cultural technologies to be understood, not conquered. Meaningful collaboration preserves the integrity of both systems, rather than forcing one to submit to the other. This approach shifts the perspective of music from a universal language to a collection of distinct, localized dialects. The most beautiful expressions happen when we allow those dialects to converse, while maintaining the unique identities that make them worth listening to in the first place. This was brought to you by Notes and Silences. Thank you for listening.